Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Garner for this Tuesday, December 4th, 2018. Good to have you out here for our first of two shows this week. Our first show of December, the last month of the year. Hard to believe. Been a very, very quick year. And again, here we are for our first of two shows this week. We have a lot to do. We have a very busy show, so let's get right into it. As always, let me remind you of how you can contribute and interact with us during the show. You can do so by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search in the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page, please. And then you can interact with us and have fun with us and all that good stuff. All right, so as I said, we have a lot to do tonight. I kind of made an addition to tonight's program. I'll explain why in this moment. Before I get to that, though, let me first tell you what we, the normal stuff that we would do tonight, which is NFL. We'll look back at this past weekend, look ahead to this upcoming weekend. We'll preview it. Our usual college football portion of the evening will be about the playoff. This week, more about the playoff and bowl announcement. We don't really have to go in the playoff rankings now that we know where we stand with the playoffs. That won't be a long segment because everything pretty much went according to plan, I would say. We'll do a little college basketball, not a lot. I don't even know if I don't even know if we'll even do it because this week should have been more eventful than it was. It really wasn't, but we'll maybe do a little spot on it. Then we got some MLB stuff as things are starting to get interesting here. I didn't put this in the show description. We're going to talk about the Robinson Cano deal for the Mets and Edwin Diaz deal for the Mets, and a Gene Segura deal for the Phillies. And obviously the big news today, Patrick Corbin signing with the Washington Nationals here. We'll do that. So we got a lot of baseball to get to in that regard. And this is the part that I added. Well, before I get to the part we added, we'll also do this, some stuff on the Kareem Hunt situation, which is just, look, it's just another bad move by the NFL. I mean, they screwed up again. They really did. They really screwed up again, and we'll talk about it in detail and go into that. And the part that I added for tonight was wrestling. We weren't going to do. We usually do wrestling on Thursdays, but I was alerted to the idea that my co-host, Mike, will be actually joining us tonight. I don't know when he'll be joining us, but he said he would be joining us. So with him doing that, I decided to add the wrestling tonight. I know that's stuff he likes to talk about, so we will do that tonight, which means that this show might end up being a little longer than planned, but Thursday's show will end up being much shorter than planned. So I don't know if that means that I'll add something to kind of make it somewhat a decent length, or if I'll just let it go and just be really, really short. We'll see. I'll figure it out. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We got tonight to deal with first, so let's do that. So that's the drill for tonight. Again, with wrestling tonight, that only is right now scheduled for Thursday entertainment. So box office beat, TV highlights, entertainment news and notes, all of that on Thursday. Unless I add something, which I might do, which you'll find out about on Thursday if I do. So that's what's going to be happening this week as far as our shows go. Next week on Tuesday, we'll have a sports entertainment combo edition of our show, because we're going to be doing an all wrestling show next Thursday. Actually, I might flip flop that. I'll flip flop that. We'll probably do the all wrestling show on Tuesday. And then we'll do our normal sports entertainment combo-ish edition of the show on Thursday next week. So, maybe we'll mix up. I don't know. We'll see. I'll talk more about it on Thursday. I keep going back and forth because I don't like to push the NFL talk off to Thursday because we have to make picks and stuff. So, yeah, maybe I'll leave that. Maybe we won't do an all wrestling show on Tuesday. But regardless, on Tuesday we'll probably do the wrestling stuff again because I might have a better chance of getting Mike for that. So it makes sense to do it on Tuesday. But I'll let you all know on Thursday about that. So that's a little bit of insight into next week. So next week we'll have the wrestling. We'll have an extra emphasis on wrestling because we preview WWE TLC pay-per-view, which will be taking place a week from Sunday. We'll obviously have all the usual NFL coverage. We're going to start previewing the college football bowls in 2 weeks. We will not start that next week. So anybody wondering about that, we'll start that in 2 weeks. People have been asking about a college basketball preview. I think we're going to wait on that. And we might do that the same week as the college football bowl. We might do it all together. That might actually make for a good college level show. So maybe we'll do that. But I'll let you all know about that later on as well. And one other thing, the film awards, because people keep asking me about the film awards. Oh, you're talking about all these new things you're going to be doing, and what's going to happen with the film awards? We will start the film awards process next week, I believe. Reason why I'm going to start it next week is twofold. One, I want to do the ballot request before Christmas. That way, people have the Christmas and New Year's holiday to kind of think things over and keep things, because a lot of holiday movies, awards movies out there, it keeps it gets you in the mindset of knowing that you're going to be doing this. And then right after the holidays, we might say, let's do the announcement, let's have the nomination ballots due the second week of January or something like that. And then by the end of January, we'll have the nominees, and we're probably going to be early with the awards this year. Instead of doing them in early March or end of February, we might do them in the beginning of February. We'll see. I'm still working that out, but we'll talk more about that next week. We'll probably, like I said, we'll start the process next week and do the ballot request and all that probably next week, unless something changes in my mind, which I don't think it will, but just be aware of that. So for those wondering, that's the deal with that. And we'll talk more about the schedule as we go through December later on. Obviously, with Christmas and New Year's, we'll have a different schedule because of the holidays, but I'll get you all more information on that as we get closer. It's only the first week of December, so let's not jump ahead here. So with that in mind, as I wait, I'm not going to stall. We're going to get going here because we're obviously waiting for my co-host to come on. So while we're waiting for him, let's do what we always do, which is start with the NFL, so that we can get that out of the way and kind of get going with that. So let's start with the NFL, which, again, we're in that last portion of the season now, all about getting into playoff positioning, clinching, tying things up. The drill at this point. And that's what it's about. And for those teams that are out of it, it's about finding out what you have. And this ended up being a week that got dominated by the teams that were out of it, making waves, teams that are barely hanging on making waves, and teams that are in it either making waves of a good kind or making waves for bad. It was really about those who are going to clinch, even though the Rams were the first team to clinch a playoff berth. It really was about those teams that are either on the outside looking in or either barely hanging on or trying to kind of position themselves to get in. Outside of those teams, the only other major story was the Cowboys, who put a number on the Saints last Thursday, and what I think was one of the best defensive performances I've seen by an NFL team in a very, very long time, and definitely the defensive performance of the season. The Cowboys were incredible in that game against the Saints. To hold the Saints to 10 points and to do what they did to them was astounding. They should be proud, and the Cowboys are a team. Offensively, they're not going to scare you. They're just not going to scare you. But defensively, they can scare you, as they've showed with that front seven. They front five, I should say. They're going to scare a lot of teams, and they're a team. Now, see, here's the thing: they did this at home, where they've dominated at home this year. 6 or 7 wins have come at home this year. But here's the problem for the Cowboys: they're not going to be at home in the playoffs if they get there, which I think they will. So that's a problem for them. They have to find a way to do this kind of thing on the road. If they can do that, then they're going to be a major thorn in a lot of teams' side in January. A major thorn. That's just the bottom line. Because that kind of defense can win. I don't care how offensive a league we're in now. I don't care how offensive a league we're in now. If you have a defense like they showed on Thursday night, defense can win you a Super Bowl. That was a tremendous performance by the Dallas Cowboys in that game. Tremendous performance, and just enough offense. And look, you get the Saints credit because their defense did the job, and a defense that I've never been as high on as some other people are, but it's doing the job. But that was an impressive performance by the Cowboys. So outside of the teams that I mentioned, the Cowboys, of those teams that are likely to go to the playoffs, they were a big storyline in Week 13. Now, those teams I mentioned those teams on the outside looking in, making waves, right? Well, what teams am I mentioning? The Broncos, who 2 weeks ago we thought were left for dead. They're now back in play. They're at 6-6. Some of the other teams have come back down to them. The Bengals are ones falling off because of injuries and whatnot. They're off the pace. The Broncos are back involved. They get a 24-10 victory over the Bengals. They are now 6-6, very much alive for the postseason. Same thing with the Dolphins. You thought they were done? No, they get a big win over the Bills. Had every opportunity to win that game, and they still didn't. Drop pass at the end. Poor Josh Allen scrambles like crazy to keep that play alive at the end, and gets a wide open receiver in the end zone, and he drops the pass. Terrible job by the Bills in that regard, and the Dolphins come away with a win, 21-17. So they jump up to 6-6. So they were on the outside looking in, no more. So they're very much alive. What did I do? Right here. And then you have the Giants, who, look, they're as long of a long shot as you can possibly imagine at this point, but they're still mathematically alive. If they hadn't lost that game to the Eagles, we might be talking a whole different narrative here of everything that's happened with the Redskins and the Eagles and, of course, the Cowboys, who are, again, out in front, but not by much. But the Giants get a big win over the Bears, 30-27. And Chase Daniel, I got to give him credit these last 2 weeks, even though he's a backup, he's done very, very well for them. It was a tough, hard nose win for the Giants. Despite the fact that Odell Beckham Jr. whiffed on an onside kick recovery, but we won't get into that. Just a big deal for the Giants. They get a big win. Bears took they're lucky the Vikings are struggling and not going to challenge. The Bears are probably still sitting pretty, but, is what it is. But the Giants, it's a big win for them, keeps them in line. Again, it's a long shot, but they're very much still in line. Panthers falling off the pace. We'll talk more about them in a sec. Let's see here. I'm going to talk about the Texans. Titans, we thought they might be out of it after their performance the last couple of weeks. They get a win over the Jets, who had that game salted away, 26-22. Again, I understand there's a lot of people that feel like you shouldn't fire a coach in the middle of the season, especially a coach that's been there for multiple years. The Jets, I understand, you don't want to cause too much upheaval, but this is ridiculous at this point. You got to do something. Fire a coordinator, fire somebody, because you can't keep having these things happen. Either, penalty after penalty, allowing a team to win a game that you have essentially wrapped up. It's just what's going on there is just terrible, and the Titans come back, and now they are in play still at 6-6. And you have to keep an eye on the Steelers. Now, look, the Chargers, I'm going to mention the Steelers because on the different side of this, there are teams that look like they had things salted away that have fallen off. The Steelers are one of them. They lose to the Chargers 33-30 after dominating the game and having a 23-7 lead at the half. It's the first time they've blown such a lead. Chargers look very, very good. They look like they got a little bit of mojo on the side, which they've never had. Steelers look terrible. It's I don't know what's going on with Ben Roethlisberger, but he has to fix it. He looks very inconsistent right now. His passes don't look the same. His skill set doesn't look the same. I don't know if he's losing it. He is older, but something's off with Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, and they showed in that game. So they dropped back. The Chiefs almost blew a game to the Raiders. They won it 40-33. So you got to be concerned about that. We'll talk more about the Chiefs situation with Kareem Hunt later on, but that whole mess clearly wasn't a distraction early. They were dominant, but they almost let the Raiders take away a game there on the road. So that's a little bit worrisome there for the Chiefs, I would think, especially for their defense, which isn't great, but still it's better than that. So you worry about that, but that wasn't a loss. That was just, kind of a worrisome situation. Colts drop back, lose the game 6-0 to the Jaguars. I probably should have mentioned this last week. If you ever watch a Colts Jaguar game, the Jaguars are for some reason the Colts kryptonite. Even when they were good, the Colts way back with Peyton Manning, the Jaguars always gave them a hard time. So it's a little bit of a unique situation where the Jaguars just seem to own the Colts, and they did that. The Colts don't even get a touchdown. They just did not offensively. They just couldn't move the ball. The Jaguar defense was phenomenal. Really, though, in all honesty, it's an embarrassment that the Colts couldn't find some way to get a couple field goals just to at least tie it. But tough loss for them. And again, they're one of those teams that came back down to earth, allowing teams like the Titans and the Dolphins and the Broncos to still be alive in this playoff hunt. So they drop back. And that's just on the AFC side, because there's teams on the NFC side that drop back as well. Saints suffered that tough loss to the Cowboys, like I said, but they're already set, and that's going to hurt them with the Rams, who are just a couple wins away from clinching that home field. Panthers dropped back after a terrible loss to the Buccaneers, 24%. I told you, Buccaneers have a tendency to be good teams in their division, and they did that. And now you worry about the Panthers and where they're going. They're on a downward trend the last couple weeks. They're 1-5 on the road. It looks like, while Seattle has ascended, the Panthers have descended, and now you think that the Panthers are on the outside looking in here because of the way that they're playing. The body language and such just does not look good for them. They drop back. The Vikings are falling off. They suffer a 24-10 loss to the Patriots. Now, look, the Patriots are in December. They're not going to lose. So you accept the loss to the Patriots, but the Vikings just have not looked good, despite the fact they have a so-called better quarterback this year in Kirk Cousins. They have not looked the same this year like they did last year. 6-5-1. They're very vulnerable to being knocked out of this hunt. The Seahawks look like they're set, 43-16 over the 49ers. They're 7-5, and they're rolling. I think the Seahawks are a safe bet now to make it. It's the Vikings that you worry about in that last spot. The Vikings' performance is keeping teams like the Redskins, the Eagles, and the Giants alive. Because otherwise they wouldn't be alive. I mean, the Redskins would be barely alive, but the other two wouldn't be. So you got to keep an eye on the Vikings and what they're doing, because they're just keeping teams alive. And the only reason why the Eagles are still alive because they were able to beat the Redskins 28-13 on Monday Night Football. Solid performance, not great. Redskins, are burning through quarterbacks like water. I don't even know at this point. They lost Colt McCoy out to a broken leg. They got Mark Sanchez starting, looking for another backup. It's just a mess there, but they're still at 6-6, so if they can find a way to muster anything, still alive. So, Vikings are kind of keeping those teams alive there. And outside of the teams I mentioned, the Texans dominating 29-13, they're very much in play for a top seed. I mentioned the Patriots already. Let's see what else. I mentioned the Rams clinch a playoff spot. They're gone. Ravens right now are the team to beat for that final playoff spot in the AFC. They get a nice 26-16 win over the Falcons. They have played very well with Lamar Jackson at the quarterback position, and done a very good job. And they're looking very good. So these teams at 6-6 are going to need the Ravens to drop a game or two here, or they're looking like they're going to be that team because they're playing very well. And of all those teams, they're playing the most consistently and playing the best. So they're very much in position right now. And then there's the Packers, who were mathematically still alive coming into this weekend. Now you have to put them on the outside looking in. They're 4-7-1. They suffer a 20-17 loss to the Cardinals, who are 2-8 going to this game. And this is at Lambeau Field. They lost this game. And, out of all those teams that are kind of barely hanging on, this was the most disappointing, most shocking loss. And it's the loss that ultimately ended the career of Mike McCarthy. I didn't put this in the show description, but we have to mention it. Mike McCarthy getting fired after 13 years, statistically, the best coach they've had. And a lot of people don't like what they did, firing him in season. Look, I actually think for them it was a more respectful thing to do, to let him sit there and have to deal with the tenuousness of ending the season. And clearly they weren't all on the same page. There was issues with Aaron Rodgers. And look, I like Aaron Rodgers. Anybody that's ever listened to the show or ever met me knows I think Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league. He quit in that game. His performance in that game was an embarrassment, and he should be ashamed of himself. He quit. He quit on that team, and he quit on that game. And look, his coach is getting fired because, look, I understand he's had injuries, and I understand he's partially to blame for what happened this season. He's calling audibles look, quarterbacks call audibles, we know that, but he's changing plays because he doesn't like what they're calling. There's a lot of dissension amongst the offense, and that's pretty much the reason why the Packers are where they're at. So he has to take responsibility too. And Mike McCarthy has not always been the best head coach, but he's not what we saw this year. And it's a shame that it had to end this way. He'll get a job, probably as a head coach, I'd imagine, because of his consistent work. And we'll see what happens with Green Bay. I mean, look, maybe the reason why they felt they could do this is because they have a good quality potential coach in Joe Philbin at the offensive coordinator position that they can move up. Maybe that's the reason they did it. I don't know. Either way, I think, people think it was disrespectful to do it in season. I don't. I actually think it was good because you don't have to sit there and deal with what's going to be happening over these next couple of games. It gets him a chance to go find another job. It gets him a leg up on finding another job. It gets a team a leg up on trying to find out who their candidates are for replacements. If they're going to go out and get a replacement or stick with Joe Philbin, gives them options. But you know what? the Packers were clearly embarrassed. That was something that they didn't want to live with, and they made a move. For better or worse, they made a move. So that loss had other repercussions, and you wonder who would have thought the Packers would make a move in the coaching situation before the Jets. Who would have thought? So it's kind of crazy how that turned out. So a week where, again, the storylines were focused on those teams either on the outside looking in or barely hanging on or trying to push forward and cement and cement a playoff spot. That's what the storylines were. That's what the headlines were outside of the Cowboys who continue to push forward. So that was your storyline, and now that's going to continue to be your storyline here because that's really what the playoff picture is about, is those teams trying to get a leg up on the competition and, trying to push themselves forward. And all these teams like the Rams and the Saints, they're just trying to salt things away. They're already in. So that's my word of the day, salt, apparently. But yeah, so that's really what it's about right now. So, and that's what week 14 will be about. And where is my... Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Here it is. That's not working right. Okay. And as we look back at our picks real quick, how did I do on the picks for week 13? Well, Saints, we lost out on the Saints and the Cowboys because I thought the Saints would beat them. They didn't. So that's one loss for me. Bears over Giants, that was another loss for me. Bucks over Panthers, that was a win. That was my upset pick. Pats over Vikings, that was a win. Steelers over Chargers, a loss there. Eagles over Redskins, a win. So it looks like another 3-3 week for me, which has been my mantra this year on the picks. So 3-3 again for week 13. So yeah, nothing if not consistent, folks. But yeah, that's my week 13 picks as far as how I did. And now we jump to week 14 here, and I'm going to move through this because honestly, I heard people complaining last week about the schedule and thinking there wasn't a lot of games. I thought there were more games last week than I thought there were this week. To be honest, I don't like the slate of games this week. There's very few good games in my opinion. There's still games of significance. It doesn't mean there's not any good games. It just means there's not as many games of interest, I think. So I'll do what I did last week really quickly, run through the schedule, and then pick along the way. And like I said, I'll note if I'm picking a game, I will note that I'm picking a game. I might still give you a favor in the game if I'm not picking it, but if I'm picking the game, I'll note that to you. So here's your slate of games for Week 14 of the NFL season. Thursday, 8:20 p.m. Eastern on Fox. 4-8 Jaguars at the 6-6 Titans. Obviously, you favor the Titans. Look what the Jaguars did last week, so that's going to be an ugly game. To be honest, low scoring, I'd imagine, but I'd still favor the Titans. But Jaguars can surprise. They did it last week. All right, now Sunday. 1 o'clock from Eastern on CBS, 3-9 Jets at the 4-8 Bills. Got to favor the Bills there, but stranger things have happened. Maybe the Jets finally get sick of losing. Who knows? 1 o'clock from Eastern game on Fox. 6-6 Panthers go to Cleveland to play the 4-7-1 Browns. Panthers should win it, but the way they've been playing, don't be surprised you see an upset here for the Browns. That one's an upset watch for me because they're just playing terrible right now. And Cleveland's playing for pride, and they've done that well this year. So we'll see. But, that could be a game that could be a little bit of a boost for Browns if they win it. 1 o'clock from Eastern game on Fox. 4-8 Falcons go to Green Bay to play the 4-7-1 Packers. First game without Mike McCarthy. We'll see how the Packers respond. That's going to be a game of interest in that regard. I'd favor the Falcons only because of the way Green Bay's been playing. But maybe without Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers will wake up. Who knows? And that whole team will wake up. Who knows? 1 o'clock from Eastern game on CBS. The first game I'm going to pick, 7-5 Ravens, 3-3 on the road at the 10-2 Chiefs, 5-0 at home. Ravens, you think, need this game more, but then again, the Chiefs kind of do too because the Chargers are right behind them in the AFC West. I'm picking the Chiefs here, but boy, the Ravens are sure playing very good football right now. The only thing that gives me pause is that the Chiefs are so good at home and the Ravens are 500 on the road. And that makes a difference between Kansas City. So I'm going with the Chiefs, but the Ravens scare me in that game. So keep an eye on that one. 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern game on CBS. The 9-3 Patriots, 3-3 on the road at the 6-6 Dolphins, 5-1 at home. Also going to pick this game. Dolphins have a tendency to like beating the Patriots. They really do, especially at home. But the Patriots are a team that in December just seem to own it. I think this is going to be a low scoring. I am picking the Patriots only because I usually pick one safe game. This seems like the safest game of the bunch that I'm picking. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I think this is a scary game because of the fact that I can see the Patriots looking back, looking past this. I know Bill Belichick's team doesn't usually look past the team. I can see them looking past this, and the Dolphins got a little bit of momentum back last week, and they do have a tendency to beat the Patriots at home. So we'll see how that works. But they're 5-1 at home this year. Patriots have not been good on the road, so we'll see. I'm still picking the Patriots, but keep an eye on that one. Let's see, what else am I going to pick here? We're going to pick. All right, next game up. 1 o'clock Eastern game on Fox. 10-2 Saints at the 5-7 Buccaneers. Tampa Bay would worry me because of the way, like I said, they tend to beat good teams in their building. But I think the Saints are too good. They've been very good on the road, even though they one or two losses came on the road as well. I mean, the Bucs, I think, will keep it close, but I think the Saints will. I'm not going to pick that game because I think the Saints will win it. But you know what? You always worry about the Buccaneers at home and in one of those games. So 1 o'clock Eastern game on Fox, 4-8 Giants at the 6-6 Redskins. I'm not picking this game either, only because I think this is going to end up being a rout in favor of the Giants. I don't like the way the Redskins are playing. Obviously, they were downing before all the injuries started happening to the quarterback position. Giants are playing well. And you don't even know who's. I mean, Mark Sanchez at the quarterback position. Come on, I think this is going to be a giant rout, but we'll see. So I'm not going to pick that game for that reason. Here's a game I am going to pick though. 1 o'clock Eastern game on CBS. 6-6 Colts. 2-4 on the road at the 9-3 Texans. 5-1 at home. Texans are riding a 9-game winning streak. They're on fire. The Colts just had their 5-game winning streak snapped. I think this is going to be very much an offensive game. I like the way the Texans are playing. Colts need this game far more. I'm actually going to make an upset pick. I'm going to pick the Colts over the Texans. I think there is such a thing as being due. I think the Texans are due a little bit of a loss here. Plus, I think offensively, the Colts will present problems for the Texans. I like the Colts to win here on the road. I really do. So Colts over Texans for me. Now the 4 o'clock window games. 4:05 p.m. Eastern game on CBS. 5-7 Bengals at the 9-3 Chargers. I like the Chargers again. Bengals are just a lame duck at this point. Too many injuries. That's an easy one to pick, and I'm not picking that game, but that's an easy one to favor. 4:05 p.m. Eastern game on CBS. 6-6 Broncos at the 2-10 49ers. Broncos should win that game. If they want to stay in the playoff hunt, they'll win that game. So that one's an easy one to pick. Not picking it, but again, that's an easy one to pick a favorite in. All right, here's a game I am going to pick. 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on Fox. 6-6 Eagles, 2-3 on the road at the 7-5 Cowboys, 5-1 home. This is the Eagles' last gas in my mind. If they lose this game, I think they're done. They win this game, then they open up a whole new can of worms in that NFC East. It helps the Giants, helps the Redskins. This should be I think this is going to end up being a defensive battle. The Eagles have not done a lot of offense. Defensively, they have injuries, but they've been able to manage without it. Obviously, Dallas has been dominant at home. Defensively, they've been great. I'm picking Dallas in this game, but it's going to be a close game. And really what might end up giving the Cowboys the edge is the fact that they're playing this game at home where they've just been just a different team. So Cowboys over Eagles for me in that game. 4:25 p.m. Eastern, 7-4-1 Steelers at the 2-10 Raiders. This is a game that the Steelers should win. Who knows? They've been playing terrible the last couple of weeks, but they should win. I'd favor them. Not picking the game, but they should win, especially against the Raiders. 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on Fox. 4-8 Lions at the 3-9 Cardinals. Awful game. Nobody cares. You'd favor the Lions, but who cares really? Now Sunday night game and Monday night game. I am going to pick Sunday night game. 8:20 p.m. Eastern on NBC. 11-1 Rams. 5-1 on the road at the 8-4 Bears. 5-1 at home. Going with the Rams here. It's an easy pick. I usually don't pick two easy games in a week, but it's a Sunday night game and I can't find another game to pick. And on paper, it should be one of the better games, but it's just not. The Bears, obviously, they might not have Trubinsky back for that game. They're a good team, but the Rams is too good. I don't care what kind of defense the Bears have. The Rams is too good. The Rams will win that game even on the road. So Rams over Bears for me. And your Monday night game, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. 6-5-1 Vikings. 2-3-1 on the road at the 7-5 Seahawks. 3-2 at home should be a defensive battle, more on the low scoring side. But Seattle, let's think of it this way. Seattle's on the upward trend, Vikings on the downward trend. I think Seattle's playing really good football. Minnesota Vikings have shown themselves not be anywhere near what they were last year. This, to me, will salt away Seattle's playoff spot. I like the Seahawks at home, where they've always been a better team, even though this year they have 2 losses at home already. I like the Seahawks at home to beat the Vikings. in Monday Night Football. So your picks for Week 14 of the NFL season: Chiefs over Ravens, Patriots over Dolphins, Colts over Texans, Cowboys over Eagles, Rams over Bears, Seahawks over Vikings. That's my picks for Week 14 of the NFL. We'll obviously go over those picks, look back at Week 14, look at the Week 15 next week. Should be not really a great week, I don't think. Even the good games seem like they could be one-sided. So not a good week in my opinion. But yeah, so we'll see. But anyway, that's it for the NFL this week. We're going to talk about the Kareem Rush situation in just a moment. We're going to move out of football for a little bit because I've had somebody waiting, and I know I don't want to annoy him, and I know he doesn't have a lot of time, so I don't want to. That picture is really interesting. So we'll jump out of football. We'll do the college stuff and the Kareem Rush thing later. Let's jump out and let's jump into some other things here as I bring my co-host Mike on. With his, what is that picture, Mike?
That is the face of me going gray, listening to you talk about football for 20 fucking minutes. And not only that, you interrupted private poop time
Oh, I did.
with your fucking football talk. Brian, excuse my French.
Mm.
I cannot say I hate you so much right now.
Clearly, by your picture, you do. That is a really funny picture. I'm sorry. I, I, oh my god, what is that picture? Oh my god.
That is the picture of somebody who's been waiting for you to talk wrestling for literally 20 minutes while you're talking about football teams we don't give a crap about. So please, can we jump into professional wrestling, please?
Well, we will. We okay.
Before that,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever address the Dwight Howard thing?
I did not. That's one of those things, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I got one piece of mail about that, and
One.
one piece of, believe it or not, only one piece of mail. It's interesting because I don't think that story. I mean, it was all over social media, obviously, but it was a big deal. But I don't know if it's because it happened like during the Thanksgiving portion of the time, or I don't know what it was. But for some reason, I didn't. I thought I was going to get tons of mail. I was already expecting to do something with it, and no, I ended up not because I only got one piece of mail, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to make the time to do it. Nobody wants me to talk about it, so yeah, I didn't talk about it.
All right.
Interesting though, right?
Well, it's an interesting story. Didn't get a ton of play, but it's
Weird
an
that didn't.
interesting story. But unfortunately, what everybody's losing track of, it does not matter if Dwight Howard was sleeping with a gay man who looks like a girl. Who cares?
Yeah.
The
No.
real issue with that story is and always should be the fact that that individual who he had a relationship with was getting threats from people in his camp, and Dwight did nothing to stop that. So that should be the story, not the fact that Dwight. And the fact that everybody's reaction on Twitter was, oh, or pretty much everywhere was like, oh, Dwight Howard, oh, when he goes back to the locker room and takes a shower, all of his teammates are going to give him the side eye or whatever. That's not the story.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to make progress in sports if you're an LGBT athlete
No, it is.
because there's that stigma there. And unfortunately, there has been barriers broken. However, there needs to be further barriers broken for that to be so that wouldn't even be an issue. And besides, the person Dwight Howard was having sex with was getting threatened by people in his camp, and Dwight
Yeah.
Howard was too much of a bitch to do anything about it. That should be the real story.
Yeah. And now he's injured again. I think he's having surgery, I believe. It's
Yeah,
like a lower back injury, I think.
no. Do you know what it
No.
is? And this,
What is it?
and unfortunately, this is it. Kind of matches this story. It's literally he has an ass injury.
Oh, okay.
It is literally an ass injury. He's getting surgery because he tore a muscle, one of the muscles that connected his ass to his leg, which is a really painful type of injury and could be a career threatening injury. But the fact is, it is with this story going on. It is literally like the worst kind of injury he could have had
Mm-hmm.
because it's a butt injury.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
But unfortunately, yes, we learned some things about Dwight Howard this week that probably didn't need to know. I didn't need to know Dwight's sexual preference. I didn't need to know if Dwight was a top or a bottom. I didn't need to know all that. But apparently, I do now.
Yeah.
But I also know Dwight Howard's a coward for not saying anything when people in his camp were threatening his ex partner.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, well, I understand that he's always been kind of worried about image and trying to control the narrative, right? That's kind of been something that he's always been. At the same time, the right is right, and I mean, how many character hits can he take? It's been constant ever since those early days in Orlando when it looked like he was going to be the centerpiece of the league. And what could have been, look, like you said, his sexual preference, all those things don't matter to me. If that's what he wants to do, whatever he feels comfortable with, and what he wants to do, that's his prerogative. But to let to let it happen the way it did is where he really takes a big hit. And especially in this day and age, it really is something that he should have did the right thing about. And now he just comes off looking even worse. And just again, I saw people. I remember when this story broke. I remember seeing it on Twitter, and I was following it for a little bit. And people were like, "Oh, well, this is justification for him keeping it quiet because he's getting already look at all these people getting bullying him and everything." And I mean, look, I can understand why he felt the need to keep it quiet, but there's no reason for him to have done what he did in regards to the partner. That's the part that makes him look bad, is that he allowed what happened to happen with his camp and everything else. That's the part that makes him look really, really bad. I can understand why he felt the need to not go public, because that's something that, especially in sports, it might be difficult for him to imagine how people are going to react. I can understand that. And it's sad that he has to feel that he can't go public with it. But the part involving his camp and how they treated that's wrong. That's the part that really makes him look really bad. But he's made a career out of making himself look bad. So why are we surprised by that?
We're really not, unfortunately, and it's sad too because you know what, Dwight had. He was a one-time All-Star. Can you believe that Dwight Howard was a one-time All-Star?
Can't stand the court.
He can't stand the court. He was so good in Orlando for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to the Lakers. He was in Houston for years. He's turned into an NBA journeyman.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard.
Atlanta, Washington now.
Yeah, Atlanta, Charlotte, and now he's in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He's a journeyman now. And that's not something you thought when you thought Dwight Howard,
Mm-hmm.
But even back in, when he was in Orlando in 04 and 05, when he was freaking redefining what it meant to be a center. And that's what it was. He was a guy who was redefining what it meant to be a center.
He was.
And unfortunately, it's sad, man. The situation is sad, and especially since his personal life is. I'm just looking at his Wikipedia page, and his personal life is a bit rocky.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. It's a shame. It really is. The guy was going to take over the mantle from Shaq at one point. What was going to happen? He was the next Shaquille O'Neal.
Mm-hmm.
He had the personality. He had the presence. He had the fan base. The fans loved him. The guy was doing things for the NBA that was really, during a time of transition, helping them. I mean, where would the dunk contest have been without him? You know, before Blake Griffin came along. I mean that's he did a lot of good things for the league, and then it spiraled out of control the minute that he started wanting out of Orlando, and then everything kind of just fell apart.
Yeah.
That's really what happened. So, I mean, just the fact that I mean, it was a big story on social media. It really was. We're not exaggerating that it was, but boy, it didn't get picked up by a lot of outlets, and it really didn't get talked about as much as I thought it was going to be. It really didn't.
In a way, it's kind of a reflection of how far Dwight Howard's star has fallen, and honestly,
Yeah.
and partially, I'm going to say that partially, it's partially about how big of a star that Dwight Howard's star has fallen, but it's also kind of been overshadowed by the fact that another NFL player punched another lady in the face on camera in Vegas.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's and look, that's something I'm going to talk about because I'm my issue. I mean, the Chiefs did the right thing in the end. The players saying the right things now, although that doesn't absolve them of anything. But the NFL majorly screwed up again, and but that's for later on. Because God, I can't believe how stupid they can be. They literally cannot get out of their own way. They cannot get out of their own way. It's just uncanny. I mean, you got teams in the NFL like the Redskins that are signing players accused of domestic violence. Granted, the Chiefs let Kareem Hunt go right away, but the Redskins are signing players that have accusations against them, but Colin Kaepernick can't get a job in the league.
Yeah, but this guy, people can't wait to bring back.
Well, nobody's done it yet because it's at this point it's toxic. But wait a year. Just wait a year. Next season you'll see him somewhere.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I don't want to indict the guy. He's 23 years old. People make mistakes in that. Maybe down the road after a period of time, I could see him. I might be okay with him coming back. But the next year, but what will happen. You know what will happen. If Ray Rice was in his 20s when that situation happened, he would have been back in the league playing. He was on the downside of his career, and he was already on the way out of Baltimore. That's the only reason he wasn't signed to another team. The only reason. It's the truth. But, again, for later, because we've done enough football for right now, and I know you want to get to the wrestling, and we're going to take a break from the sports stuff and jump into some wrestling, because there isn't a lot to talk about, because if you've had the unfortunate desire to watch Raw the last 2 weeks, I feel really bad for you because it's been really bad.
I can honestly say that my hours, even now, my hours still are not do not allow me to watch Raw live. However, I do kind of come home and I do read Raw reports, and it's really bad.
Right.
Like, and I don't just read those smarky ones. I try to follow people who try to find a positive in what's on Raw. And when they can't find any positive with what's going on Raw, it's baffling. It's bad.
I mean, I'll give him one thing. It was slightly better this week than it was last week. Slightly better this week. There was a couple of things that they did. Like I'm glad that they realized they couldn't keep the Dolph Drew thing going any longer. They finally decided to just pull the trigger on the face turn and just go with it.
Dolph actually got a win for once.
Well, it's his yearly push, Mike. We know how this works.
For now.
Yeah, and then a couple months he'll be non-existent again. It's just how it works. It is what it is. But and they wrote Natalia off television because she's injured, and that's kind of why they had to do that. And they pulled Ember Moon. And by the way, Mike, you'll appreciate this. They're still running with the narrative that Ember Moon idolizes Nia Jax.
Why?
They they
You know,
they went on and on about it in the main event. It's
I, I, I honestly, I can say if that's that is a narrative that does not have any grounding
yeah,
in
reality.
reality.
Yeah, yeah,
It really does not.
yeah.
Ember Moon was working with wrestlers that are when Ember Moon broke into the business, she was working with wrestlers who are 5 times more skilled than Nia Jax currently is now.
Right.
She was in Shimmer with she was in Ember Moon was in Shimmer, which is one of the top women's promotions in the United States. And this was a promotion whose ace was Sarah Amato, or I forgot what her name was. I think it was Sarah Del Rey. Sarah Amato was pretty much the lead trainer for all of the women and like the number 2 trainer in NXT. That's who the ace of Shimmer was when Ember Moon broke in. And oh, by the way, this division also included the likes of Sasha Banks, Bailey. um,
Yeah.
this also it also when they were first breaking into the business also included like big time women's wrestlers like Daisy Hayes. She came out. She her big old time in the mid '90s indie circuit or the late early 2000s indie circuit. She was in ROH. Daisy Hayes was a big deal on the indies. Cheerleader Melissa, who was a fantastic female wrestler. They brought over top women's wrestlers from Japan, including Maiko Satomura, who is probably one of the best female women's wrestlers of all time. And oh yeah, they also brought in this lady by the name of Kana. So, and Ember Moon, who at the time was Athena, got a chance to work with almost all of these people at some point.
Mm.
So how? So okay, so even if you don't, and WWE kind of references that history sometimes when it benefits them. And even then, when Ember Moon broke into NXT, she wasn't working with Nia Jax. She was working with Sarah Amato. She was working with Asuka, Nikki Cross. She worked with Shayna Baszler, who by the way is literally 15 times the wrestler Nia Jax is.
Mm.
Shayna Baszler's good. She was working with Kairi Sane, who is also 15 times the wrestler Nia Jax is. She worked an amazing feud with Asuka. I mean, Jesus Christ, Ember Moon is already 15 times the wrestler Nia Jax wishes she could be. So, but no. Let's continue with this. Let's continue with this narrative. I wish somebody would give Nia or Ember Moon and the microphone. Just be like, why do they keep saying that I idolize Nia Jax? I started wrestling before Nia Jax. The only thing that I respect her for is her being related to The Rock.
It's just really, I mean, they, like I said, there were some things I liked about last night, not a lot. I even liked the fact that they had Renee Young kind of snap on Corey Graves about the Ambrose questions every week.
Well, apparently it's like 3 weeks and 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in a row. It's like, no, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
don't fucking know.
they kind of have to acknowledge it, and I get it, but I like how realistically they're kind of playing it. And I don't know what they're doing with Ambrose and Rollins. Now I understand why it's not a WrestleMania program because they've taken all the air out of it. I don't know what this Ambrose heel turn is now. It went from being really interesting and compelling to being like just like him just being a lunatic as a villain.
Yeah.
It's become goofy, and if you believe what the rumors are, which is that Vince basically wrote all of last Monday's show, which is when this turn started to become totally goofy. It makes sense given everything. And can
Oh
we
yeah.
just stop with the neon sign above Bailey and Sasha Banks' head that says they're going to be the first ever women's tag team champions?
No, it's either them or the Iconics.
Because they're basically this is the only reason why Sasha and Bailey are doing this nonsense that they're doing. It's the only reason. It's just that they got to keep it going to WrestleMania because they're probably going to be battling Trish and Lita for it in a match at WrestleMania. You know that's probably what it is.
Probably.
I mean, come on. Let's stop. And by the way, Alexa Bliss apparently has been cleared to return. So
She's been on the show, but I mean,
they're
let's be honest here. Raw has been struggling.
terrible, terrible.
Raw is struggling so hard right now. This is where not letting Finn Balor develop a personality has really shot you in the ass, the face, the foot,
This is where
and the
also
stomach.
not having guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Well, I was going to build to that part. The fact that Braun Strowman's injured does hurt too, but the fact that you don't have Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn, two guys you can literally count on to do literally everything for you. They can get over whatever you need them to get over.
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
and you don't have Bray Wyatt. Even Bray Wyatt has had his ups and his downs, but
He's good to go though. They can use him if they want.
Bray Wyatt just had. I don't know. There's so much you could do.
If it
There's
was
so many.
if it wasn't for Elias and Drew these last couple weeks, I don't know what
You
they'd
could,
be.
the whole big gimmick with Bobby Lashley now is he's what fucking immortal or something. Bobby Lashley,
Oh, it's stupid. The whole thing's stupid.
where he just bends over and shows you his ass, and apparently MVP was on Twitter like, why? And Conan, the big story is like Conan had a response. It's like, dude, Conan's right. It's like the dude can talk, kind of to an extent. He can work. He's got a legit background. Bobby Lashley should be groomed to be beating up freaking Brock Lesnar.
It's a joke. They needed to just treat him as a total like heel badass type character, and they don't do it. They just made him a goofball.
Him and Leo Rush, like, look, the pairing with Leo Rush is fine
Yeah,
because Leo Rush does give Bobby, and Leo Rush is annoying as shit. Um,
yeah,
but the best Leo Rush match I've ever seen in my life, and Leo Rush is. There are some things that he's done on the Indies that's kind of garnered a little bit of controversy, but the best Leo Rush match I've ever seen. Have you heard of Keith Lee?
yeah, yeah,
Keith Lee. Have you seen Keith Lee?
yeah.
Keith Lee is a big old boy who is probably about 6'5". He weighs about 300 pounds. He's in the mold of Kevin Owens. He's a bigger guy who can go and
Hmm.
do some amazing things. Even though he can't do as much as Owens could have, but in PWG they matched up Lee and Leo Rush. And this is after Leo Rush is no selling a huge ladder table spot. And it was literally just they gave some stuff to Leo Rush, but the match was just literally like 10 minutes of Keith Lee no selling out Leo Rush's shit and just murdering him. And then when Leo Rush kicks out at one of Lee's moves, he gets up and he hulks up, and Keith Lee just turns him around and just freaking power bombs him through the mat. It was amazing. I'm like, this is the best Leo Rush moment ever. Otherwise, he's been annoying as shit, more or less, and unfortunately, that's what we have here. We have annoying Leo Rush, and dude, Leo Rush is very talented. He can kind of talk, but the direction they're going in here, and I'm sorry for that tangent. Doesn't matter. You were going on tangents to the football talk. I was barely listening. Um, what they're doing with Leo Rush is they're kind of putting the heat on him. So it's like, oh well, Bobby Lashley is the Greek god, and look at his ass. Look at that ass. That's Leo Rush's gimmick now. Like, what the hell? You should be building up Bobby Lashley as a destroyer. Like, one of the best parts of Raw has been, and until like last week, has been Drake Maverick and AOP. Until
Mm.
the last 2 weeks, I should say, has been Drake Maverick and AOP, because Drake Maverick is there just to build up AOP as destroyers. It's like, I'm here to lead you guys to the tag team titles, and I'm here to just have you guys destroy everybody. That Drake Maverick is doing an amazing job. And that's what Leo Rush kind of should be. And that way you
Yeah.
make Bobby Lashley a destroyer. However, it's like, well, we've got Braun, who's a destroyer for the faces, and we've got Drew, who's kind of like a destroyer for the heels. So we only have room for one destroyer. That's not how
Yeah.
this shit works. No,
That's how Vince works, though.
that is how Vince works because he only does one character archetype at a time,
And by the
which
way,
is sad because there would be money in a destroyer Lashley versus a destroyer Drew down the road.
oh yeah. Or you could even have him as a challenger for Strowman when he wins the title or something, you know?
Oh yeah,
I mean, I don't want to speculate anything. I've seen this interview with, they're talking about the, who was it? Wasn't Kalisto? Who's in the Lucha dance party? Is it
Lucha
Kalisto?
House Party. It's Kalisto.
Kalisto, yeah.
It's
So it was
Kalisto,
Kalisto.
Grand Metalik, and Lindsay Dorado.
So it was Kalisto. I saw the interview. Okay, so he did this interview where he said that Vince is in love with their team. Like he loves them. He loves the gimmick. He loves it all, right? Well, he made a reference to an idea that Vince had about the Money in the Bank briefcase and how they could make make it like a big pinata or something. Like he could, the contract in the pinata. I'm like,
That
how much you want to bet he does that crap? How much you want to bet?
that's hella racist. So you know it's true.
But when I read that, I was like, that's such a Vince McMahon thing to do.
It is. It's incredibly racist.
And I can't believe Kalisto just came out and said it's a good idea and just went crazy about it in an interview. It was ridiculous. But
Do you know why? Do you know why Kalisto said that? Because that would mean Kalisto would win the Money in the Bank contract.
yeah, that's why.
So of course Kalisto's all for it. It's just that
Yeah,
it's still hella racist.
yes. But that's yeah. But anyway, um, while Raw's been struggling, I think SmackDown's actually been after they had a terrible after Thanksgiving episode. I think SmackDown's been pretty good. I mean, I will say this though. Let me just say this: the Shane Miz stuff is terrible. It's a waste. It's a waste of Miz. I mean,
Yeah.
tonight they nailed it with Miz and Daniel Bryan. That was fine, but I mean, gosh, that's a waste. Who would have thought the
That's
women's
what
division would be carrying the whole show though?
Women's division has been carrying all the shows though.
Yeah. But we got ourselves a match that if that Asuka Charlotte Becky Lynch match doesn't main event TLC, there's gonna be a riot.
It's the hottest match on the show.
I mean, nothing's gonna top that match. Nothing. And by the way, Mike, they've announced Charlotte versus Asuka for SmackDown next week.
Well, I saw that they announced it, but I'm imagining.
No contest.
Yep, that's
Main
a no contest.
Main event. Becky interrupts that whole deal.
I would not give that match away on free television with a finish.
No.
Unless Asuka's going over, like Asuka's getting a pin or something. But I think that's a no contest because I think there was a rumor that went out a few days ago or so that there was going to be several title changes at TLC.
I think Asuka's winning at the pay-per-view.
I get the feeling Asuka's winning in that pay-per-view. I do. I get the feeling that's one of the title changes because I actually think Charlotte and Becky's future is on Raw.
Oh,
at least Becky's is.
Well, supposedly, if you believe what's been going around, Charlotte's supposed to face Ronda at Royal Rumble. And Becky's getting her at Mania. That's the plan, which means that you got to take Charlotte away from the women's title for a little bit, which would mean getting and Becky away from the title. And this is a way to get the title away from Becky without her getting pinned.
Yeah.
So this is smart booking. If you're going to get it off her, this is a perfect match to get it off her.
And not only is that more perfect, you could say, well, okay, so Asuka wins, or we're going to hold off Becky's rematch until after the Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
So Becky wouldn't have to get pinned at all.
Right. Smart booking. You do it this way. So, yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. The minute they added her in the match, I'm like, yeah, I think Asuka's winning. There's no reason to do that. you could have nobody has to take a pin. Like people would be like, oh, they're eating the pin. There's no pin to be had.
No, it's a TLC match.
So there's no pin to be had. So there's no reason to add Asuka to the match, unless she's going to win. All the focus is on Charlotte and Becky. So why it's a perfect recipe for the upset.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes the most sense. So I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's gonna be phenomenal, and I think the crowd wants it. So why not?
And I actually think that that might lead to Charlotte versus Asuka 2 at Mania.
I think that's where
Or
it's going.
Shaska. Because I think Becky's going to beat Becky's probably going to win the Women's Royal Rumble. That's an easy call.
Yeah, that's the way I
And
see it going too. Yeah.
one of the things a lot of people on Twitter are actually a little excited about is maybe next year if Asuka kind of gets the title. There's been enough interactions between Asuka and Sonya Deville to get people excited for that match.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had some. Yeah, I know what you're saying. That match last week. Yeah,
The battle royal was good. I was able to I came back and saw that.
it was good.
It was good.
But yeah, I think that they had a good segment tonight. They did some good stuff with the women's thing tonight, and they did it last week as well. And Daniel Bryan, the heel turn's been good. AJ Styles is still taking the air out of everything. Um, look, they're wasting Randy Orton, they're wasting The Miz. They're kind of wasting Samoa Joe, but apparently there's heat on Samoa Joe, so there you go.
Surprise.
Yeah. I mean, I think SmackDown's is better by default because they have more. They got more good things going on than Raw does. You know what I mean? But it's just a mess. It really is a mess. What's going on in the company right now? It really is. It's just I get that this time of year is usually rough, and TLC and everything's usually like that pay-per-view that gets forgotten about at the end of the year. You're waiting this for WrestleMania, right? But yeah, it's really rough right now. I mean, I pretty much have DVR'd Raw the last 2 weeks. I'm lucky if I watched maybe 10 minutes of it. SmackDown, I think I watched the whole thing last week, and they took Big Show away from the bar, by the way.
Yeah, apparently Big Show's injured.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I know there's a rumor going around. I don't know how much I put into it that they might be breaking up the bar soon.
If they do that, they're dumb.
But if they do that, I would imagine that that's because Sheamus either needs time off, or we've all suspected that we don't know how long he's going to keep going. And there's that same rumor that's going around. Among that rumor is also the idea that if and when they do that, that they replace Sheamus with Ono, and they'd keep the bar going with Ono and Cesaro.
They wouldn't be the bar then.
I think they'd consider it like a version of it, but I don't know.
That wouldn't be the bar. They'd be the kings of wrestling.
Yeah, well, you know how WWE is, but I mean, look, we have to wait and see. I don't think they're going to do it right now because they're in the middle of another push here, but I guess we'll see. But that's a rumor that's been going around like the last 2 weeks is that they might be breaking up soon. So
that's not a good rumor.
I mean, there's people that want the New Day to break up, but that ain't going to happen anytime soon. Not the way they sell merchandise.
Never.
So, no, they're still over. They sell merch. They're fan favorite. No, it's not happening. I would say this though. I think what they should do is they should allow the guys to go after singles titles too.
Yeah.
I think they should do that instead of just pigeonholing them all the time in tag team wrestling. Why can't we see Kofi go for an occasional title? Why can't we see Big E go for an occasional title?
Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't do that.
The little Karibo, the abridged creator, had a really good idea. Like it was, I want to say it was or at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2018. He was like, well, because he's a big fan of the New Day. And one of the things he said is like, why not? I'll have like New Day kind of refresh themselves and have like Big E go for a major run. They were missed opportunities where you could have Big E. He could have been a legitimate challenger for Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Legitimate challenger for Brock Lesnar. So the
Yeah. Well,
fact the fact that they kind of chose to ignore that, just I don't know if they're ever going to do that.
well, the other part of it too is that they have somebody that's as over as Kofi Kingston. They don't do anything with him either. So
Nope. No, they don't.
yeah, yeah. Um, I'm trying to think if there's any news that came out over the last week that's of note, but I don't think there is. There hasn't been any big Mania notes or anything like that. No match no like anything. I mean, we've had some TLC matches made, but we talked about those last week. Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot. I mean, it's just really what's been going on Raw and SmackDown. We don't know what the status of Braun Strowman is. They're still publicizing the Corbin Strowman match for TLC. The backup plan is they're going to do what they did a couple years back when Punk was out. Remember the 6-man tag?
Mm-hmm.
They'll just make a 6-man tag with probably, now that they turned Ziggler face, it'd probably be Ziggler, Elias and Finn versus Corbin, Drew, and Lashley, Bobby Lashley. So
Oh,
that's
they're not going to go the other idea, which
what's
was Corbin versus Wyatt.
no, doesn't sound like
That's
it anyway.
that's too bad.
I mean yeah. I mean they're I mean Bray's ready. They said it. He came back. He came back at Starrcade, didn't he?
Yeah, he beat.
Yeah,
Who did he beat? He beat Baron Corbin, actually.
yeah. He's ready to go. He's okay. So they could do that, but I guess they're not going. They're probably going to wait on Bray till after the holidays. I bet. Which means they got a
Possibility.
plan. Which means they got a plan for him, and they also got the Lars Sullivan stuff, which he's apparently this hot commodity free agent that Raw and SmackDown are battling over.
Ooh, that one's a little rough right now.
Yeah.
um, you heard about that story, right?
What, Lars Sullivan?
Yeah.
But just by my reaction, I would think you'd say no, I did not.
Oh, you did not. Oh, well, I mean, I only heard about it really in passing, but apparently there's a story got out that Lars Sullivan was a frequent poster on some bodybuilders forums back in the day, and a lot of what he had to say was frequently homophobic, racist, just borderline offense, just incredibly offensive shit. It was. I heard about it, but Lars Sullivan apparently had strong opinions on people of different genders, sexes, body shapes. It was bad.
Oh, um, there's a report out there about what the original plan is for Lars Sullivan's call up.
Mm-hmm.
This whole business with Raw and SmackDown battling over him was supposed to culminate. The vignettes were not supposed to start airing until after TLC.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was supposed to culminate at the Royal Rumble, where he would make his decision on what brand he chose.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that could still happen, but they started airing the vignettes earlier because Vince saw one of the vignettes put together, and he fell in love with Lars Sullivan. He's very big on him,
No way.
and apparently Triple H likes him too. So
Well, Lars Sullivan has been getting a push in NXT. It's just he's not been getting a push towards the title. He had a really good match with Aleister Black, though.
mhm.
And apparently he's got a feud going with Keith Lee, of all people, in NXT. And again, Keith Lee is a guy that people should be
Yeah.
thinking of, especially if I'm Triple H. Keith Lee is a guy that Triple H needs to be thinking as one of their future faces of the company, because the
Um,
dude's very charismatic. He can talk and he can go.
they're trying to sign up all the indie talent anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
I guess Undertaker and Michelle McCool were backstage at SmackDown tonight because SmackDown was in Texas. So
Mm-hmm.
And also Christian was backstage as well.
That's not
Um,
surprising.
and they obviously did a tribute to the troops early. And I guess Roman Reigns is going to be attending. It might be his first TV appearance.
That's not surprising.
Um, so we'll see what they do there. I forgot to mention something from Raw last night, the Rhino Heath Slater thing,
Oh yeah.
where they, obviously Heath Slater a couple weeks ago was on social media complaining they didn't get screen time. Well, they ran an angle last night where Baron Corbin put them in a match together, Rhino and Heath Slater. A loser gets fired. Rhino got fired. Apparently, there's talk that he's returned. But then there's people that don't think it's true, that they think that it's an angle. I don't know. I think it's true. Um, I think they even did off screen. He did a promo to the crowd where he mentioned that he was retiring. So I really don't think it's a fake. Otherwise, it would have been on TV.
Yeah.
And they did this thing where Heath Slater's going to be a referee now. I don't know what they're doing with that. I really don't. But
They don't have when they don't have anything for you.
yeah.
Sometimes it's better than just sitting backstage.
But you know what? It's you give Rhino credit. We wish him well. He got that nice little mini run with Heath Slater for a while. They were very entertaining together. So, it sucks, but hey, he hasn't been around. They haven't really been doing what I think they've been primarily on main event and stuff like that recently. So, yeah. So, he probably is ready to step out. He's got other things going on anyway. So, no need to, if you don't have to do it, don't do it. But yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that.
And Rhino can do like indie shots here and there. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's not much going on in wrestling. This is that time. After the holidays, it's going to pick up. It's really going to pick up because you got Mania and Royal Rumble and all kinds of things going on. So it'll pick up. Next week, like I said, we'll preview TLC and we'll do all that stuff next week. So yeah, that's the wrestling. It's pretty sad right now. It really is. It really is sad. I wanted to mention, I said that I throw a little college basketball in here, just going back to sports, because it wasn't as eventful a week. So I'm not going to go over all the games and all the big things, because obviously the week before was a little bit more eventful as Duke lost. Gonzaga got a little bit of a scare, but that was really about it. There, in the ACC Big Ten Challenge came and went. I think you came away from it, though, what it was last year. Although I would say this about the Big Ten. I would say this: Michigan State is horribly overrated, but that's something that we've said over the last couple of years. I would say. I would also say that Ohio State was very lucky, but they were very lucky to be ranked, because I didn't see anything in that game that led me to believe they should have been ranked in the first place. And I came away from last week with the Big Ten thinking I really like Purdue. Michigan is really good. Michigan's really good. Whoever made the top 25 really slept on Michigan this year. They're really, really good. I also think that people need to stop sweeping on Kentucky, because I think this is one of John Calipari's better Kentucky teams. I know they had that bad loss to Duke, but that's because Duke is so good. And that Gonzaga game was a Duke wake up call. They needed that. They really did. They now they're letting the game come to them. I think they're playing better. I have to throw this out here. Furman is ranked in the top 25 now, Mike.
Furman, eh?
Yeah, they're 25. Yeah,
oh,
good for them. Villanova's been playing better though. I think they got their wake up call too. They're playing better. They've been getting some scares, but they're playing better. Yes, I do buy Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's good. This is the 1 year I'll agree with people. I think Gonzaga's good, and that's because they beat Duke. I think they're good. I think Kansas is overrated. I think Auburn, we got to see them more. But yeah, I came away from last week thinking the Big Ten's better. You had the ACC, you had the Jimmy V Classic. That was a great event. No big shocking things there. Over this next week, you got a couple interesting things. By the way, Buffalo's playing Lemoyne tomorrow. So number 17 Buffalo, by the way.
Yep.
So Villanova's in the middle of their whole Big Five
Big
deal.
Five stomp.
They got
Yeah.
Temple tomorrow night. So yeah, you got that. Gonzaga. I'm interested in this game because Gonzaga is going to get Washington tomorrow night on ESPN too, and Washington's not a bad team. So that's a little bit of a test for for Gonzaga tomorrow night at 11. So I'll be DVIing and I'm going to check that one out. That one looks like a good game to me. Yeah. So I mean, there again, it's been very uneventful. Oh, a team that is ranked in the top 10 that nobody's been talking about, and I think a lot of people just think, oh, they're for some reason they overranked. They're not. Nevada. Nevada's ranked 6th in the country, and for anybody that thinks they're not deserving, okay, they are deserving. They are really good. I think Nevada's better than Gonzaga. I really believe that they are really really good. They're getting Arizona State on Friday night, I believe. So Arizona State's ranked number 20, but we know they're not number 20 in the country, folks. But yeah, they're really good. Nevada's really good. So if I buy them, I know that you're gonna look at their schedule and go, well, who would they be in? They're good. They're going to be a team that people do not want to see in March. They're that good. That's the reason why they're for a Mountain West team. They're ranked in the top 10 in November, December because they're that good. So that Arizona State game on Friday will probably be an interesting game to check out for that reason, just because you see them play a team out of a big conference. And then this weekend, there's really not a whole lot. Kentucky, Seton Hall, Michigan State, Florida. Wisconsin, Marquette. Marquette's been pretty good. Duke, Creighton gave Gonzaga that scare. Creighton, I think, is not bad. UConn, Florida State. There's not a whole lot this week. Again, you're going to be quiet through December. I think Syracuse, Georgetown's coming up in a few weeks. It pains me to see Virginia at number 4 because they're not the number 4 team in the country.
Always overranked.
But March will fix that, so that's okay.
Always.
Yeah, they won't get out of the first weekend. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I've watched them play twice. They're not. But yeah, there's nothing really much going on. And again, last week was fairly uneventful. It was just about the ACC Big Ten and wasn't a whole lot going on. Oh, Louisville was impressive. Louisville beat Michigan. Louisville was impressive last week. I like what I saw from them. They got Chris Mack now. They look very good. Defensively, they look great. So yeah, that would be my takeaway. It's not a big week. It was a very uneventful week in college. I thought it would be a better week with the ACC Big Ten and Jimmy V class. There wasn't a lot going on. This week, not much either. So it's kind of a quiet period in college basketball, which it usually is after the holidays, after Thanksgiving and such. So I know Mike probably feels a little bit better about Villanova now, Mike. Do you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Studying it a little bit.
It took him about. I was watching a little bit of the game against LaSalle, and it took them a little bit because they were down against LaSalle for a while.
Yeah.
It took them a little bit to get back into their rhythm, but once they did, they pretty much routed them.
All Syracuse.
LaSalle was leading at halftime.
Yeah. All Syracuse needed to do was get Frank Howard back. Really.
Yeah, and Frank Howard has really, really changed that offense up quite a bit. It gives them a playmaker, really.
And he's not 100% back, and he's not probably going to be 100% for most of the year. He's the injury, he had surgery on it. The whole thing was kind of weird how it all went down. But I'm telling you right now, folks, I don't know if they would have won both games, but if they had Frank Howard for those 2 games in New York, they would have won at least one of those games.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean they would have beaten UConn for sure. I don't know about Oregon because they got kind of hit pretty hard offensively by Oregon. And with the zone and everything, the shots that they were making, I don't know if they would have
played Oregon.
Oh, they wouldn't have played Oregon. Yeah, they wouldn't have played Oregon. You're right. You're absolutely right. Good call on that. Yeah, so they wouldn't have played Oregon, so they probably would have won both games. They would have won both games. Because Oregon's the only team that I think maybe matchup-wise would have given them a problem there. So, yeah, they wouldn't have played Oregon, so they would have won both games. And they would have been unbeaten, and we wouldn't have been talking about worrying, about where they are and whatnot. But they're handling business. They're getting better now. And look, they're going to play out the string the rest of the month. Georgetown might be a little bit of a tight one for them, but they'll probably find a way to win it.
They get Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo's the one I'd be concerned with. That's the one I'd be concerned with because they're defensively, they're very physical. They rebound the ball well. They handle the ball well. So Buffalo's going to be a test. That's going to be a tough one. That's a tough one. But that's one I think they have to win to make up for what they've lost already. So, you know, it's funny that if they were to win that game, they'd have two top 25 wins in the first month of the season despite two losses.
They would need to.
They would need to. But I look forward to that game. I do. I think that's going to be a good benchmark for both teams to see. So, yeah. So again, kind of quiet right now in college basketball. It is December, so another month we'll be saying differently. Conference play will be starting. But yeah, so um, let me just throw this story out there because we referenced it already and jump back to football, but not football games, but actual football story. Because it kind of goes beyond football. And it's the Kareem Hunt thing, which we alluded to earlier tonight. So going back to the football realm here. Obviously, by now you all know the story broke last Friday. TMZ got a hold of a video of Kansas City Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt, and getting into a violent altercation with a woman he did not know. He had no relationship with this woman. She apparently said something that incited him. He pushed her down. I think he pushed her twice. One of the times he pushed a guy into her. I know that. But either way, he either pushed her or pushed somebody into her twice. And then while she was on the ground, he came back and kicked her. It was a very, very bad scene, very horrible scene, which apparently took place earlier this year. The Kansas City Chiefs were made aware of an incident back in February. They talked to Kareem Hunt about it. Apparently he lied to them, which is why they did nothing else about it. And when they found out, once the video surfaced on Friday, and they had found out that Kareem had lied to them about it, they immediately, of course, he was put on the commissioner's exempt list, but that didn't matter to the Chiefs. They decided to release him immediately, which you give them credit for. Now, I saw some people say, well, why give them credit? Why didn't they ask for a video? Well, here's the thing, folks. The NFL didn't ask for a video. Or if they did, they certainly didn't push enough to get one.
Surprise, the NFL hasn't learned anything from the Ray Rice story.
So
what are the odds?
Yeah, and here's my issue, okay? Should the team have pushed it? Yeah, but still, you feel like the league is the one that has to take the ownership on that one. Because the Chiefs obviously sat down with the player. They talked to him. This is what he said. They didn't think there was anything there. The police apparently knew about it. I'm not going to go into the legalities because you can also feel like the police should have done more than they did. But I'm not going to go down that one. I'm going to talk about the NFL here because I think they're the ones that drop the ball the biggest here. No surprise. How can a media outlet like TMZ keep getting these videos and not the NFL?
Because the NFL doesn't try.
Or they just don't care to try because it's easier to bury your head in the sand because you want to keep making money. See, here's the thing. They can hide behind, and this is the thing that they're probably going to hide behind if they address it. They're going to say, well, we tried to get it, but we couldn't. We weren't allowed to have it. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say that the place where the incident took place didn't allow them to have the video. Yeah, my issue is TMZ got it.
Well, here's the other issue. The paper trail. The NFL could say, "Oh well, we put in for the video, but then we never got it."
Yeah.
Paper trail says that the first time the NFL actually submitted for a public records request for that video was. Mm-hmm. This is, by the way, the very first time they submitted a request for the video.
Okay.
I have to stress this date was the very first time the NFL submitted a public records request.
Okay.
November 30th, 2018.
Last Friday.
Yeah.
When the video came out.
When the video came out, when the NFL finally requested to have the evidence.
Oh, yeah.
So doesn't this make the NFL look very, very dumb, and
Wow.
they haven't learned anything from this.
Wow. You don't even have words at this point because after everything that's happened and they tightened up the policy and all this other stuff, after all that's happened, they still can't get out of their own way. You know, you
I
watch
mean,
teams in the league sign players that have these accusations against them while players that did nothing sit out at home. You see this nonsense where you don't even you know of an incident, the team knows of an incident, the police know of an incident, but nobody go. I mean, the video is can get be gotten by a media outlet like TMZ, but you guys don't decide to go get it.
oh, and there was a Kareem Hunt thing that happened 3 hours ago.
There was.
Yep.
I'm looking that up right now.
Kareem Hunt was in a TMZ Sports got it. Kareem Hunt had to be restrained in an altercation at a nightclub with a white guy.
Where'd you
Kareem
find?
Hunt. I'm looking on Twitter right now. TMZ Sports.
Okay, because I'm not finding. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna go to Twitter because that really is where the breaking news is apparently nowadays.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh Jesus.
See,
Okay.
you never. And some of the comments on this video, this now was about 4 hours. Some of the comments on the video is like, oh, about 90% of the people I went to a nightclub in my life have done this at least once. What's the point? So, oh well, what's the point? Because Kareem Hunt, there's previous evidence of him physically assaulting somebody else.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
Excuse me, two other people.
Okay,
Two
so
two
now
other people this year.
so just a pattern of behavior.
Yeah, so it establishes a pattern of dumbass behavior.
Um,
And
so
the and you know what? The Cleveland police still hasn't seen the original video yet.
oh boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This story is really bad.
Yeah. Um, so this is again, this is where the league and again, this is where you have to wonder who they have in place, who's in their investigations division, who's not, who's can you really be this ridiculous and asinine? Can you really not when you hear of an incident like this, because the team knew about it, the police knew about it. You hear about this, the league knows about this. You don't think, well, hey, we need to find more information about this before we let this guy play. You don't think you don't think about this. And then here's the other thing. So the Chiefs do what they did on Friday, right? They release him immediately upon the video, right? Okay, great, good for the Chiefs. They did the right thing, right? Which is big for them because this guy's one of their best players. This might cost them a Super Bowl. It's a big deal that they did this. You give them credit for that, even though you feel like, well, why did it take so long, whatever. Well, anyway, they do what they do on Friday, right? Apparently, the NFL makes this request for the video, like Mike noted. Where's the punishment? You really need this long to decide to wait. You got a policy about this, right? You made a big deal out of how you got a stricter policy about this, right?
Yeah.
You allowed this guy to pass through waivers over the last couple of days. You shouldn't even been allowed to be on waivers. There should have been a punishment already inflicted.
He's currently on the commissioner's exempt list.
I know, but still, what's come on. Just that's come on. What you got? You have a policy in place. That whether you think it's enough or not, at least level the policy that you have, which is whatever. I think it's 6 games. Put it out there and say, "Hey, he's suspended for 6 games. If anybody picks him up, this is what you're going to have to deal with." At least so that you show that the policy is in play. I mean, the fact that they didn't even bother to do that is speaking volumes. Like they barely spoken about this. They really are terrible at addressing these things. They just can't get ahead of it, and they're just so behind on a lot of these social issues, societal things. just don't know how to handle it. They have no sensitivity when it comes to it. They're more concerned with making money and doing what they think is best for winning football games and being successful. And you know what? Here's the problem. People let them get away with it. They continue to watch. They continue to go to the games. There were more people protesting last year over the stuff with the national anthem and that than there were about this stuff.
Yeah.
And that whole thing was just blown to epic proportions. And here's the thing that, and I want to yell about this, but I can't because I have a sleeping baby and I can't yell about it. So excuse me, I'm not gonna be able to rant like I want to rant about this. I listened to a lot of sports radio over the last couple of days since this whole story broke. The amount of people I've heard that justified and tried to stick up for Kareem Hunt and others that done what he's done is truly disgusting. I've saw justifications like, oh, women want to be treated equally. So if they want to be treated equally, this is no different than a man getting attacked in the bar.
By the way, Kareem Hunt is also undergoing investigation for assaulting a man in a bar. So, it's not like it's the only time it's happening. Are you there? I will take that as a no. So yeah, Kareem Hunt is also undergoing investigation for assaulting a guy in the bar. Surprise! So this is the third major incident that he's had this year. It's like he can't get out of his own way with his attitude and his behavior. He hasn't learned. And,
No.
And unfortunately, that means that, and if people keep enabling that behavior, it is horrendous. And look, women deserve to be treated equally as men. It's true.
Yeah.
However, nobody deserves to be treated like that.
And you know what the other justification is too? Well, people make mistakes. Look, I don't ever deny people getting redemption for something. If they truly show that they're remorseful, they take the right steps, they take some time to get right and get help. But none of that has happened at this point. So
Nope.
Don't put the cart before the horse here. And I think some of the things that I was hearing. Oh, there's two sides to every story. The guy got caught on video. Like, come on, this isn't a he said, she said thing. This isn't that. He was on, there's a video evidence. He went into an interview on Sunday with ESPN and acknowledged that everything in that video was true, that he took responsibility for it and said the Chiefs were right to do what they did. So there's nothing obscure about this. So stop acting like there is. There's no justification for this. There never is. I'm sorry, there never is. I don't care what your reasoning is. There never is a reason to do something like this. There just isn't. You don't need to assault anybody, man or woman. I mean, the fact that we're even justifying it. I mean, this is the world that kids are growing up in, is that people are justifying domestic violence, abuse.
In what world is that acceptable? It can't be this world. It can't be this country.
Oh my God.
It shouldn't be this world. It shouldn't be this country. You can't justify that shit.
I mean, we're making bigger deals out of nonsense than we are about stuff like this that's violence and safety and I mean I don't even like the things that I was hearing. I literally could not believe it. I was like, is this for real? No wonder why people are still flocking to games and that there's people out there that think it's okay. That there's nothing wrong with that the league is dropping the ball with this, that this stuff is happening. Oh, but last year, we can't have people protest. Oh, no. And I don't want to take sides. I don't want to make it political or anything. But, I mean, if you're going to take stance on stuff like that, take stance on this too. Take a stance on this too, and take the right stance. The right stance is this is inexcusable, should not be happening. The league needs to do more about it, and there's no justification for it. You could take a hard stance on that stuff last year, but you can't take a stance on this. You think it's okay? You're just gonna let it go?
Well, their stance last year on the protest was wholeheartedly wrong too. So
Yeah, well,
what
yeah,
are the
that
odds?
too.
The NFL can't get anything right.
Yeah. No, they never. And honestly, and you and me have been talking. I feel like we've been talking about this since high school, even before people started focusing on like the domestic violence stuff. This league has had a problem with behavior for decades.
Yep.
It used to be criminal acts and other things like that. Now it's domestic violence and it's a league that really just does not know how to police its players and how to keep things in check. Look at the other sports. I know baseball had the steroid problem, okay, and they're trying to get ahead of that. But look at the other leagues. You see any of this going on? I mean, there's incidents here and there, but widespread? No. There's a reason for that. Just saying. The reason for it. They get ahead of it. Their policies are in place from day one. They don't wait till things happen. And if there's a video, they get it. Bottom line.
Although if I'm the NBA, I want to investigate this Dwight Howard thing pretty heavily.
I'm sure they got somebody on it.
I'm sure.
They usually are. They're pretty forward thinking when it comes to stuff. So I'd imagine if anybody would, they would.
I'm just hoping. I hope they make some sort of announcement saying the NBA is investigating.
Yeah, I would think so. I would hope so. Yeah. One of my fans said, "Are you going to say anything about the NHL adding a 32nd team in Seattle? It's good for them.
About time.
It's about time. I mean, look, the NHL is doing good enough business wise. I can't believe under Gary Bettman it's doing good enough business wise to add a team, but good for them. Seattle's a good sports town. They support their teams. It'll do well there. It's going to do fine. I think.
I guess the story about the NHL is the NHL is doing well despite Gary Bettman.
Yeah, that would be the headline. 2021, 2022 is when that Seattle team will start. So,
well, if the Las Vegas Golden Knights are of any indication, then it should do well.
Yeah. Like I said, and I'll say this too. The thing that saved the NHL was two things: that Olympic run with the hockey team, and that TV deal at NBC saved it. Both those things saved it. Put hockey back on in the consciousness of everybody here. It's never going to be huge, but it's doing well enough, and that's really all they need. It's well enough. So. And I think the Vegas team is doing really, really well. So that's an added bonus. So yeah. So all right. So I said I couldn't rant about that as much as I wanted to, the Kareem Hunt thing. I just can't be loud about it. But it's gosh. Oh yeah. Yeah. So all right. So the rest of the show, I'm gonna be going to baseball. I don't even know if Mike would want to be a part of that.
Mike is going to go to bed. However, this is the most attention I've paid to the Mixed Match Challenge, literally at all.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they're building up to Miz and Asuka winning again.
That's kind of funny.
Well, I mean, the only other major team on the other side is Finn Balor and Bayley.
Right.
And Miz and Asuka are wrestling R-Truth and Carmella this week.
So they're winning.
Or next week, I mean. Because Miz and Asuka beat Naomi and... Miz and Asuka beat Naomi and the Uso.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Uso, I want to say. I could be wrong.
It can be confusing sometimes.
Because they were doing because you know how the mixed match challenge were Kevin Owens got injured, and Natalia got injured, so she was out. Um, AJ Styles got injured that one week, so he's out. So Jeff Hardy and Charlotte Flair lost to R-Truth and Carmella in this bracket. Jeff Hardy lost to R-Truth in 2018. Yep. And Kurt Hawkins replaced Braun Strowman when Braun got hurt. So he and Ember Moon, which were the number one seed, they lost to Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. So I think the judging by the bracket, I think it's going to be Miz and Asuka versus Balor and Bayley, and I think Miz and Asuka are going to win again.
I'm okay with that.
I'm very much okay with that. So,
hey, 2-time champs, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool for sure. Oh, that's pretty cool. We'll talk about this more on Thursday. Not to change something. This is not an entertainment show, but Kevin Hart's going to host the Oscars.
Oh, they finally got a host for the Oscars?
Yeah, it's going to be Kevin Hart, apparently.
Took him long enough.
That's pretty cool.
Honestly, they should have gone. I heard rumors that everybody the Oscars had asked didn't want it.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they wanted Timberlake, and Timberlake said no. And then they wanted Will. I don't know if they asked Will Smith. Will Smith coughs in the brain, but I don't think they asked him.
They must be.
I heard they asked Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she said no. That's a weird choice. And then I heard they asked Jerry Seinfeld, and I'm like, oh. And well, if Jerry Seinfeld said yes, I would have immediately banned the Oscars from my household for literally ever, because fuck Jerry Seinfeld. I know that's an unpopular take amongst a lot of people who think they're smart, and I count myself amongst unpopular people who think they're smart, probably aren't as smart as they believe they are. Seinfeld, the show about nothing. Well, Seinfeld sucked, and Jerry Seinfeld is unfunny and is a giant asshole to boot. And if he hosted the Oscars, it's like, well, what's the fuck? What's the fucking point of Jerry Seinfeld? Kevin Hart's a good choice. That would mean we get Dwayne Johnson at some point, and Dwayne Johnson's great. Kevin Hart's funny.
Kevin Hart brings in ratings. They probably threw a lot of money, because I guess my understanding was one of the hangups for him was that he's filming a movie and he had to rearrange his schedule to be able to do this because of the filming schedule for that movie. So the fact that he did that, they must have threw a lot of money at him, because there's no way that he would mess around with that and risk being screwing up a movie if they didn't throw a lot of money at him to do it.
They would have had to throw a lot of money at him to do it.
Yeah, so
I'm surprised they didn't think about Dwayne Johnson at all to host the Oscars.
Maybe they did. Maybe he was just too busy. He probably was. Oh, actually, he's not. I don't think he has a lot going on. Well, who knows? It's The Rock. He probably does.
He probably got a brief. I'm surprised they didn't ask him to host the Oscars. Also, John Cena is not a. Oh, okay. John Cena is amazingly busy.
Well, he hasn't. Yeah. There's a lot of people they could have asked.
Yeah, I would have gone with Dwayne Johnson. They could have asked Lin-Manuel Miranda. He's probably going to be there tonight night anyway. Oh, they did ask him allegedly, and he said no. Never mind. Anyways, I think
maybe they should ask you again.
Yeah, right.
Oh, he's too busy with a one man show. That's going to be what he's doing. So
no, yeah, he's too busy with the one man greatest show.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. I just consider it Wolverine on Broadway.
Well, that's fine. It is Wolverine on Broadway, and soon it'll be Wolverine and Deadpool on your screens. Despite what Hugh says.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's okay. We all anticipate that.
with joy and glee.
Mm. Oh
Yeah.
goodness.
But
But yeah.
anyways, you go ahead and talk about baseball. And by the way, this is going to be my TV highlight for next week. I was able to watch the first two episodes of the Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness.
Okay.
It's unbelievable, and I saw it on YouTube. I had to watch it sideways. It was weird. Um, the way I watched it was weird. The show itself is absolutely fucking hilarious. Oh, I think it's a little bit better than last time. Um, big ups to Bray Wyatt, who has another show stealing cameo. Bray Wyatt, the midwife. Bray Wyatt, Bray Wyatt, Bray Wyatt, the midwife, is somehow funnier than Samoa Joe, the Girl Scout cookie seller. And both were really funny. So, we need to watch. We need to watch Edge and Christian. I need to watch it again. You need to watch it for the first time, like a
I do,
man.
especially when you tell me things like that.
Edge and Christian are fantastic. Ugh. The show is super funny. Super funny. It airs every Monday after Raw. So at least you got that to look forward to as long as you're suffering through Raw.
You need it.
Yeah. And apparently, oh, and John Cena was in the first episode as well.
Oh, that's good.
In two cameos that you wouldn't expect with both Edge and Christian.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God.
They've been missed.
Oh, it's been 2 years. And during those 2 years, makes you wonder why WWE hasn't done this sooner and hasn't done Edge and Christian, hasn't confirmed Edge and Christian coming back for next season.
Well, I think they take their time, but I also think too that they didn't want to step right back into it either. So I think it's a combination. But I know Edge has been going through a tough time too. We want to give our condolences. He lost his mother.
Yeah, very much so. Our condolences to Edge and Beth and their family. Edge lost his mom, who was his rock for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. I read that. I think it was like last week, right? Read that article on it. So, but yeah, it's good to have them back. And look, really, a lot of their programming, they got to get their programming back to the stand. They had some good program when they first started the network, but now it's just kind of few and far between. But whatever. So,
All right, you talk
okay.
about crappy baseball. I'm going to bed.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Good night. Fuck the NFL. Godspeed.
Okay. So there's Mike. We thank him for joining us here on this Tuesday, and it's good to have him back on in some form, talking about some things and even some football. Before we get going on the baseball, I'm going to step away real quick because we are having an issue. I'm hearing echoes in my headset. So give me 1 second, folks. Let me just see if I can fix this, and we'll finish up the show, and we'll be done for the night. So give me a minute here, and we'll be right back. Okay, folks, and we're back. And fortunately, I did not mute the microphone, so you probably heard some TV in the background and stuff, so I apologize for that. But it looks like they got this fixed. It's been happening a couple of times tonight, so hopefully didn't get any of that feedback that I was hearing in my headset. All right, so let's finish up here because we are approaching midnight here, and we still got to get to this baseball stuff. So there's a lot of baseball stuff here. I apologize. I got it wrong last week. I thought the winter meetings were this week. The way the schedule is this year is kind of messed up, but winter meetings are next week, and already we're having a lot of action. Obviously, we had the Yankee James Paxton deal a couple weeks ago. Then last week, the big story was that the Mets had jumped in on Seattle, of course, having a big fire sale. Mets had jumped in to try to go after Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz, of course, being piggybacked on Robinson Cano, so the Mets could get rid of that contract. They had asked the Yankees to get involved in that. The Yankees were, they didn't really want to go too far with it. The Mets did. They worked it out where they traded guys like Anthony Swarzak and Jay Bruce, get rid of those contracts, to the Mariners. Mariners also chipped in $20 million. If I were the Mets, I probably would have wanted to chip in more. Because that's the only part of the deal I really don't like. And of course, they got some prospects. I think Clinic and another and Dunn, two of their top 4 prospects, number 3, number 4, traded in that deal. Of course, a lot of Mets fans don't like it because you traded 2 of your top 4 prospects for a 35-year-old second baseman that was suspended for PEDs last year, and for a closer that they don't consider tested enough. Well, here's the thing, folks. If you're going to use the argument that Edwin Diaz is not tested enough, then don't go on crazy about the prospects you traded, because the prospects aren't tested at all. Edwin Diaz had one of the better years for a closer that you can have last year, especially in the American League, where it's tougher to pitch and close games. Here's the other thing. Yes, I'm aware that a couple years ago they tried him out, Seattle. He didn't work out, and then last year was his first breakthrough year, so it's essentially 1 year. Well, it's one very good year, and he's better than anything else you got. Don't go crazy. He's 24 years old. He's young. He's controllable for 4 years. You needed a closer. If you go out in the market, you're going to overpay. This is saving you money, and this is a good deal for you in that regard. You can't go with the whole he's unproven thing when you're going crazy about unproven prospects. You can't do it. Sorry, you can't do it. And don't look at this deal as a Cano deal. Look at it as an Edwin Diaz deal. That's the best way you can look at it. It's the best way you can look at it. Because if you look at it from a Cano standpoint, you don't like the deal because the Mets didn't let Seattle give him enough money. $20 million was really not enough. They needed to get a little bit more out of Seattle to get rid of that to offset that contract. I really think they should have, but they didn't. That's the part of the deal I don't like. But Cano is still going to hit. And anybody that doesn't think he's going to hit because he's not on PEDs anymore is ridiculous. The guy is a talented hitter. He hit well after coming back from the suspension last year. He'll do well. Maybe he won't hit 40 home runs in that park, but he can probably hit about 20, 25 hit for average, drive-in runs. That's what you want. And if he's not good beyond the first or second year, so freaking what? I am sick and tired of fans. Look, I like prospects as much as the next guy, but you can't hoard them. Keep a couple. You don't obviously want to gut your system. Keep a couple high-end ones. Keep developing one of the low-end ones. And make deals. That's what they're there for. They're not all going to be proven. What the Yankees have done and what the Cubs have done over the years, that doesn't happen that often. Chances are 1 in every 5 prospects is going to succeed. That's just the way it is. So you can't hoard them. Trade them while they have value. Help your big league club out. And here's the way I look at it, okay? If you trade in 19, 20, 20, a lot of these guys the Mets traded weren't going to help them for the next 2, 3, 4 years. If you trade a guy at 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, you can go get him back in free agency in 4 years. Who cares? Go get the proven commodity that's going to help you win now. You should always be looking to win now. Enough of the tanking. Enough of the whole, well, we got to keep this guy. We'll be good in 5 years. Who cares? You don't even know if you're going to be around 5 years. Why does that matter to you? You should be wanting to win now. It should be always about winning now. It should never be about winning tomorrow or in 4 years or 5 years or 6 years, whatever. It should never be about that. Prospects are exactly what they are. They're prospects. They're unproven commodities. No, you don't get rid of every single one of them. No. But don't hoard them. And that's what a lot of these fans want, is for you to stay. And here's the funny part. These fans have never even seen most of these guys in their life. You don't even know what you're looking at. You don't even know what you're seeing. Oh, they got rid of that guy. He's a stud. You don't know that. Why? Because he lit up AAA. You know how many guys in single, double, AAA that I've heard about that come up to the major leagues and they lay an egg? You know how many guys I've seen stink it up in single A, double A, triple A, and end up being good on the major league level? Robinson Cano was not a good minor league player. He stunk for the Yankee minor league system. He comes up to the major league roster and he becomes a star. It's all a crapshoot. It really is. If you have an opportunity, Cano's the best. Cano comes the best hitter on the Mets, and you get Edwin. That's a good deal. The Mets went from the Mets are better now than they were before that deal, and that's what you want. And they're going to be active in a number of things. Apparently, they might be active on Kruger. They might go after some of the other big free agents. They tried to get on Gene Segura. Apparently, they're going after JT Realmuto from the Marlins. Some rumors about the Yankees going after him, which I think is odd because who knows? I mean, I don't know if he's better than Sanchez, so I wouldn't know if I'd do that. But Mets are being aggressive, and you heard the press conference today. They came right out and said they're going to go their new GM, who there's been a lot of skepticism about because he's a former agent, is going all in. And you have to respect that. Finally, the Mets have somebody that's willing to go out there and be aggressive. It's good. That's what every GM should be. So good for them making the deal. Good for them. Phillies get involved, trade for Gene Segura, which I think is a terrible deal for the Mariners. For the Phillies, it's a great deal. Well, does that take them out of Manny Machado? No, they can put Manny Machado at third. But here's the thing for Manny Machado right now. The two teams that you want, that you are like your front runners, are teams that are going to want you probably for third base. I mean, if the Yankees want you for shortstops for 1 year. And I don't know if Machado wants that right now. So that's a part thing to look at. But it's a good deal for him getting Gene Segura. He's a great player to have. I mean, the Mariners did a terrible job at the only game, like Carlos Santana. I mean, look, they got a terrible return there, I think. I think the Mariners have been terrible in this whole fire sale anyway. They could have done Edwin Diaz in a separate deal and gotten a lot more back than they got. I mean, they have been handling this ride. I think Jerry DePorto's done a really bad job. But hey, tearing the whole thing down, I guess see what you get. But yeah, I think the Phillies did a good job with that deal. And so you have all that stuff going on, the Mariners fire sale, what they've been doing with that. That's kind of been the story of the offseason so far. And meanwhile, today we had our first major free agent signing of all the headlining free agent acts. And that was Patrick Corbin, which we all thought would be because of everything last week. He was visiting all these teams. It looked like he was going to be one of those early, like, offseason before winter meeting type deals. A lot of teams wanted to get him out of the way so that they could, go into the winter meetings next week accordingly and plan it for everything else. And it looked like, everybody thought the Yankees were the favorite for Patrick Corbin. Why? Because he grew up in New York. He grew up around where I live, actually. And he, his family is all Yankee fans. It looked like a preconceived thing that he was going to be a Yankee. Apparently loved the meeting he had with them. But then you started hearing as time went on, well, the Phillies will not be outbid. The Phillies. It looked to me this morning like the Phillies were the team that was going to get him. The only other team you heard that was in on him was the Nationals, and they kind of were just laying in the weeds. You didn't think they had anything. Here's the thing about the Nationals. They're kind of like the Yankees in that they kind of lay on the outskirts and then kind of pounce. And they did that with Max Scherzer. They've done that a lot with free agents. They did that today because they're the ones that landed Patrick Corbin and a stunner because I thought the Phillies were going to get him. I gave up on the Yankees, I think, Sunday night. I thought it was the longer it took. If he was so dead set on the Yankees, it wouldn't have taken that long. The longer it took, the more I thought it was the Phillies. Because I didn't see the Yankees going into a negotiation. I didn't think they were going to do it. The Yankees will usually go, all right, they'll wait for somebody to call them back, and they'll say, well, okay, what's the counter offer? And if the Yankees don't give one, then there it is. If they do give one, then it goes back and forth. So, I didn't suspect they were going to go into big because I think Corbin, once they got Paxton, Corbin became a luxury. Yes, they do want another starting pitcher, but they don't want to overpay for it. I think there's other things they want to do. So I think once it's no longer a necessity, then they design a value for that player. So once they got Paxton, they're like, okay, this is how we want Patrick Corbin. He's a guy we wanted for a couple years. They mentioned that they wanted him. or they liked them. But they said once you get Paxton, I think this is what they said. Once they got Paxton, they're like, hey, with Corbin, we want him, but this is how far we're going to go. 5 years, 100 million. That's it. He's not an ace. He's not even a top tier starter. He didn't have a top tier year. He had a good year last year. The thing that I think makes him a valuable commodity is he gives you innings. Now, in this day and age, that probably doesn't matter too much or something because they're not looking to give you innings. They're looking to get your starter through 5 or 6 innings. And Arizona is a hitter's ballpark, yes, but at the same time, it is the National League. So you take that into account too. He pitched to a 3.71 ERA. How is that going to translate to the American League in an offensive ballpark? That's something to consider. And here's the other thing. He never got a playoff start. The Arizona Diamondbacks have been in and out of the playoffs. He never got a playoff start. So why didn't he get a playoff start if he's so good? That's something you wonder about too. But I digress. He was still a coveted free agent, considered by many the best free agent pitcher on the market. He's a left-hander, which makes him valuable. And he had that great year last year. How many times have we seen a pitcher have that one great year and get a big contract and then not do so well? That's a concern too, and that's something that we've seen happen. I think with the Yankees, they thought about all those factors. And once they got Paxton, they said, all right, this is how far we'll go with Corbin. If we don't get him, we can go get another cheaper option. We can go the trade route again. Because there's options out there this year. They would not budge from that. They would not budge on years. They would not budge on price. And that's why they got beat. They probably got beat by the Phillies, and they got beat by the Nationals. The Nationals cruelly beat the Phillies, which is weird because they said they wouldn't be outbid. So now you look at the Nationals, they have Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin at their rotation. Now, see, that's where I think Corbin can excel. I like Patrick Corbin, but he's not an ace. He's the kind of guy you put from 3, 4, 5 in the back of the rotation to give you innings to do well. And just to keep you, go out there and pitch a quality start. That's who Patrick Corbin in my mind is. Okay? You don't need him to be an ace on the Nationals. You have Scherzer, who's your ace, and you have Strasburg, who's your ace / number 2. Now you have a guy that's a 3. That's the kind of rotation building that you need to do. You have an ace, you have a 1A or 2, and you have a solid 3, a decent 4, and a guy in the 5th spot that, at the very least, keeps you in games. That's how your rotation is built. Corbin's not an ace, and he doesn't need to be paid like one. So I respect the Yankees for not going that far. I respect even the Phillies for not going farther. Nationals, probably not going to get Harper. They probably could afford to go out that far. So they're going all in on pitching if they're losing some of their offense. I think the Yankees did the right thing. Now, do you go get a Nathan Eovaldi? Do you go get a J Happ? I like Happ. I like Eovaldi. I don't know. Is there a way you can get both? I thought the Yankees, they said there was interest that the Yankees might go with two starters there and make it a 6-man. Who knows? I might do that with Eovaldi's injury history and gives you a little bit of options. I might do that. If you can, unless you spend too much money on one or the other, but Happ might only be like a 2-year smaller deal. So you might not have to worry about that. Or you go to trade market. See, here's the thing about the Yankees. They don't need a Patrick Corbin. They don't need a J Happ. They don't need a Nathan Eovaldi. They need an ace. Severino, is he an ace? When all is well, he is an ace. When he's not well, he isn't. Tanaka can be an ace when he's well. But that's the thing. You got 2 guys at the top of your rotation that are inconsistent. And you got a bunch of guys that are Patrick Corbin. CC Sabathia. Maybe even Jordan Montgomery when he's healthy. Paxton. Not aces. They're like Patrick Corbin. They're like 3, 4, 5 guys. And Severino and Tanaka are not always reliable. You need a guy that's an ace. So you look around. What aces are available to you? Madison Bumgarner is not an ace anymore. He's not what he was. He's just not. Zach Greinke ain't going to come there. He's not an ace anymore either. Who's the only ace that's out there? Okay, the only true ace that was available at one point was probably Jacob deGrom. He ain't going to be moved, and the Mets are never going to trade him to you. There's no aces out there. You can go to the Indians. Corey Kluber could classify as an ace, but he might be on the downside of his career. To me, what you need to do is you have to look under the radar. Maybe a guy like a Carlos Carrasco or a Trevor Bauer, who I think is an ace type, that he could be growing into one. Trevor Bauer would be the guy to go get. I know he's real weird, but I would get around that because he's got the stuff to maybe lead your rotation and make a difference. Trevor Bauer would be the guy to go get if I were the Yankees. And I would give up the prospects. As I just said, prospects are unproven. You can always go back and get them when they reach free agency. I think the Yankees need to go get an ace or a top tier pitcher, or somebody's on the precipice of that. Not anymore the guys that you just don't know. They've had injury histories, and that you need somebody that's a little bit more reliable. And I'd probably stay in the American League to get them, so that you know they can pitch in the American League. So if I'm a Yankee fan, I don't worry. I am a Yankee fan. I don't worry about the Patrick Corbin thing, losing on him. I think they did the right thing. If I'm a Philly fan, I don't worry about that. I think they did the right thing. Nationals did what was right for them, and it gives them a formidable rotation. And the NL East is turning into quite the division now. You know, the Braves doing what they did last year and the signings they made. The Mets doing what they're doing now. The Nationals doing what they're doing. Turning into quite the division. And for Patrick Corbin, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in his career. Because now he's going to be under a microscope, because the Nationals are going to be a team that has playoff aspirations. Which the Diamondbacks did too. They made it. But now he will get called upon to pitch in the playoffs. How does he deal with that? And what kind of season does he have? Does he replicate what he did last season? Does he replicate that now? And then with the Washington Nationals? Or was that just, hey, a free agent year, which we've seen before with pitchers, that they have a good free agent year and then they fall apart, fall off the earth? How is this stuff going to translate to Washington? We'll see. We'll see. It's a good signing for Washington? Yeah. Is he a good pitcher? Yeah. Is he worth what he got? No. Is he worth what the Yankees were offering? Probably. Maybe even a little under that. Now things will start to fall into place. The trade market for those Indians pitchers, Bauer, Carrasco, Kluber will probably pick up now. The rest of the free agent market will probably pick up now as you go, especially as you go in the winter meetings next week. The market for Harper and Machado will probably pick up now, because now, you know, some teams know what they can spend because they're out on Patrick Corbin. You know, the market for Machado has cooled a lot, so that might leave things open for some players, for some teams like the Yankees, who maybe weren't thinking him at first, but maybe now are because the market's cooled. Harper's market seems to be picking up. I think Harper's definitely going to sign next week. Machado might be later because of the way the market's developing for him. But I think Harper will sign next week with somebody. I think by the time we get to the winter meeting starting on Monday, I think we'll have an idea of who the main suitors are. And I think by Wednesday he'll be signed. I think he'll be a quick one. But yeah, I think now the dominoes are going to start to fall, because I think Corbin was the one he was that first big one, especially because pitching always seems to come first. Not always, but this year I figured it was going to. But he was that first domino that seemed to have to fall. And now that he has, I think the trade market will pick up again, and I think the free agent market will pick up as you go into the winter meetings. We're going to expect a lot of action next week, especially with the Mets being aggressive, the Yankees being aggressive, the Phillies, and the Nationals and the Braves. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how everything develops next week with Seattle's fire sale, and you know, see how everything develops next week. But already, obviously, a big week for baseball, for Major League Baseball, with some of these moves, a very big week. So, and Mets improved themselves, the Nationals improved themselves, and the Yankees have already improved themselves. Let's see what they continue to do here going forward. So, all right, it's 12:15. I know I would have liked to talk more about baseball, but again, it's late, so we should cut it off there. So with that being said, we are done for the night. As always, the show might be over. It's not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice or send us your questions, reactions, opinions, feedback, questions about the show, the scheduling of the show, topic ideas of breaking news items, right? Sports, entertainment, wrestling you want us to cover. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag ITSpotlight401 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And you can find us on Facebook. To search In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us, contribute, and have fun and all that good stuff. And again, social media, you want to follow us on social media so you can interact with us and know all the stuff that's going on with the show, scheduling changes, anything like that. Follow us on Twitter at ITSpotlight401. Again, use hashtag ITSpotlight401 for anything to tweet regarding the show. And of course, find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 401 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page. Again, follow us on social media so you can interact with us and more. 2 ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can stream us anytime. On YouTube, just go to YouTube and search for In the Spotlight 401. You can find any of the episodes we've ever produced for YouTube going all the way back to mid-October of 2015. So if any of those episodes appeal to you, maybe you want to check them out again, or just like streaming us or whatever the case may be, check those episodes out here on YouTube to search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming is not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us or listen to us on the go, maybe you're interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sides, so you have access to every episode we've ever produced. And it is 8 years we've been doing the show. So every episode we've ever produced in the 8 years we've been doing the show. So every episode from our original Blog Talk radio run from October 2010 to January 2011. All our episodes from our Talk Stream run from January 2011 all up to mid-October 2015. And all our episodes from our Google Plus and YouTube run. Google Plus, of course, doesn't exist anymore, but still. All episodes from our Google Plus and YouTube run from mid-October 2015. All the way up to tonight's current episodes. All those episodes transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done in audio format for your convenience, all listed from the most recent, that being tonight, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010. So this episode's available for you to listen to anytime you want. Maybe you missed an episode, missed a part of an episode, want to check an episode again. Maybe you're a longtime fan, want to check an episode from 4 or 5 years ago again. Or new fan wants to check an episode like that for the first time. Any of that applies to you. Check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, and Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, ways to keep it the show and look back at classic episodes. Search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, Google Plus is no longer a thing, but I say that because it's, we started off on that, so it's kind of a natural thing for me. But anyway, I want to thank Mike for joining us tonight and making his appearance, and it's good to have him back. And we'll probably be hearing more from him in the coming weeks and stuff. So that's good to have him back in the fold. So good, that was good to have him. So shout out to him. Hope he's doing well, and we'll talk to him soon again. Thank myself for another great show, pass my back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that'll be watching, listening to this later, thank you to you as well. We got through it. Powered this with a little technical problem with my headset, but it's fixed now, so that's good that we did that. Yeah, so we got through everything we had to get through. It was a good show. I think it's one of the better shows we had in a long time. It helped that we had Mike on too, so good show. It was long, but it was fun, so good. Before I get off the air and and kind of whatever, we didn't say at the beginning of the show, but it's obviously more important than anything we talked about here tonight. We already expressed condolences to WWE Hall of Famer Edge on the loss of his mother, so we want to do that again. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. But we also want to express our condolences to the Bush family who lost George H.W. Bush, former President George H.W. Bush over the weekend. The 41st President of the United States, a great man, a veteran, and somebody that was just represented our country extremely well, and that you could look up to, and just was a phenomenal man. And he passed away this weekend at the age of 94, and the funeral will be tomorrow, and I think there's another service on Thursday as well. So we want to express our thoughts and prayers to the Bush family, and condolences to the Bush family, and to all those mourning former President George H.W. Bush. May he rest in peace, and again, he will be missed. A tremendous loss, and You know, we lost Barbara Bush earlier. It was like a year ago, less than a year ago. So it's just losing both of them in such a short period of time. Both great people, and may they both rest in peace. And again, it's a tough loss. And tomorrow will be a national action today now because it's past midnight, National Day of Mourning. So we mourn, and he will be missed. They both will be missed. Him and his wife both. They were both tremendous people. So I had to note that here on the show here today. So. With that being said, that is it for tonight. Again, next show will be Thursday, broadcasting and streaming live here on YouTube at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. This coming Thursday, um, December the 6th. And then, of course, right now, all we got planned is entertainment, box office beat, TV highlights, entertainment news. Maybe we'll add something. I'll let you all know on Thursday if we do. So that will be our show this coming Thursday night, now that we've done wrestling and everything else tonight. So with that being said, I hope you have a great night, a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Thursday night, December the 6th, 10 o'clock Eastern Time here on YouTube. Until then, good night, everybody.